Lizzie.
Oh, we're here. Hi.
Yeah, the thing
This
is
is a
that
little bit of a challenge.
if you don't figure out how to give someone a wrench, they're not going to be able to put links in. Wait,
Okay.
I can't hear who's talking.
Well, hopefully we're live.
We are.
Can somebody confirm if we're live? And if we are,
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm watching on my iPad. We are live.
we're live.
okay, great. And I just want to let everybody know this is a video that comes with a warning because we really haven't figured everything out yet, but I didn't want to keep you waiting. So we're going to go ahead and get going. So nothing is going to go right. So anything better than that is good. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to start off as I always do with the a hello to Chris and Kim. Now, if Chris and Kim hadn't had encouraged me, we wouldn't be here today. So it's important to me to give them a mention. And also, I've got a special little graphic for them, which I may or may not find. Okay, if you can bear with me just a minute, we'll go through the... Okay, we are getting there. So hopefully this is for Chris and Kim. And thank you so much for everything. I've taken my silly headphones off because it was distracting me. So thank you for everything. And let's see how we do today. Like I say, don't really know, but we're doing our best. So thanks for Chris and Kim. And thanks to everybody for being here. Although right this minute, I can't see who's there. So let me see if you can bear with me just until I know what I'm doing. Okay, that's our special introduction to Chris and Kim. Now I seem to have booted out. Have I booted out everybody?
No, I'm still here.
We're still here.
Okay, well, I can't find you.
Okay, well, just take our word for it. We're here.
Okay, that's good. So, okay, well, let's try and start. And what I wanted to focus on this week was something which is quite controversial because it's about the no neglect issue. And what that means, there's a saying that comes along here: no neglect equals no abduction, because without neglect, nobody could have been abducted. Madeline couldn't have been abducted. So that was one issue that they had to enforce. And first of all, before I start, I want to put the first video up. Give me time. But it was a video that I want to give another little thought to the person who used to share this the most. I think there's something like 20,000 views, and I think 20 of them came because of our lovely friend. Okay, let me just find it if you'll bear with me. Yes, we'll get there. I promise you we'll get there. And let's Silence. Are you still there?
Yeah, we're still here. I was just gonna remind everybody that this is actually your first live that you've ever ran. So she's switching back and forth between computers. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah. I'm switching back between 3 computers, 2 headphones, 3 mouse, and I'm going to the wrong StreamYard. That doesn't help when I do that, does it? So I want to share screen. I think what I'll do, just to give me a few moments, there's a video that I made initially a long time ago, and it was basically pointed at the TAPA 7, hopefully maybe to have given them some sense of, well, I'll just show it to you maybe in a sec. So this one's coming up. If we skip the ad. So that was kind of controversial at the time because I really wanted to get the message out that, I mean, how could they have, oh, Excuse me, we've got something to just... How could they have just done or seen? I believe that they absolutely knew what happened. The only person I don't believe knew anything was Diane. So when you consider that you're on holiday and something happened, and it could have been any kind of intimidation not to let the authorities know. We don't know what happened. We know by the police files that something happened to Maddie. She died. The parents hid her body and they simulated an abduction. I personally have never gone with the idea that all of this could have been done in the basically 45 minutes on the 3rd. And from everything that I've studied, it shows that the contradictions started Tuesday morning. And if that's the case, all of them were involved and all of them had contradictions. And why? If you were on holiday, you might forget what night you did something or where you were. But no, they would absolutely can't be anything else but contradictions. So because of that, they obviously, in my opinion, knew that something was going on. And whatever it was, they'd have to live with that. Now, how they all decided to not speak out, but actually tell, I have to say, lies. In one case, Rachel was describing the last time she saw Maddie was Thursday morning at tennis, mini tennis. The fact is, Maddie's mini tennis was Tuesday. And I thought, okay, was the last time she saw Maddie on Tuesday or was it Thursday? But then when I realized that if they were trying to cover up something and pretend Maddie was there, I'm imagining Rachel going past the tennis courts, seeing the Sharks mini tennis. It wasn't Madeline's Lobster Group, it was the Sharks mini tennis, and thinking, okay, that's Maddie's group. So I'm going to say I saw the tennis Thursday. That'll make everybody believe that Maddie's here with us, alive. So now that was so, it's not just me saying I question it, because she was in the files. She is specifically asked by the police, did you see Maddie on the Thursday in the tennis courts? She said yes. They say, which court was she on? And she said, I think it was the right one. I can't remember which one right now, but I think it was the right one. That was the wrong court. If she had have seen Maddie, she would have seen her in the opposite court to what she claimed. So the police knew that. That's why they know so much more than we give them credit. Well, I give them credit for everything, but a lot of people will say they didn't know anything. They knew. They went to Rachel, they questioned her, and she was wrong. And at that point, they knew she was lying, I'm sure. So that's why I did that video. That was just one example, but that's why I did that video, to let them know that we know that they were put in a position that they didn't ask for. I mean, I'm sorry, a lot of people disagree with me thinking that way, but it's true. If they were on holiday, no, I don't believe by any stretch it was planned. I think it happened, and there was something, there was panic. Maybe Jerry said to them, listen, if you can just, Maddie died, if we don't want to stay here in Portugal, if you don't want to stay here in Portugal, let's just, work something out, whatever. I absolutely believe something like that. So that's why I made that video. And I did actually write a letter to Matt Oldfield, and it was sent to his hospital that he was in, and it kind of went crazy. Everybody was posting this, and I did get verification that he actually did read it. A similar kind of letter. I guess that video was inspired by the letter. But anyway, to move on, we're going on to the neglect issue. And as I was just mentioning, there was one person that I have 23,000 views, I think, on the neglect video, and one person that promoted that video endlessly, and that was our admin, Michelle. So just give me a moment here. I have to just make sure I've got it on the right picture. Okay. And yeah, and Michelle was lovely. And everywhere I looked, she'd be posting this video. So this is a special video that I'm giving. This is what Michelle did. Rest in peace, Michelle. And this is the video. Maybe a minute. I have to go into another window and make sure that I've got the right video going. So, okay, I think I've got it. No, I haven't. I practiced this and we got it right. Okay. Can you just give me a minute? Can you sort everybody out, Shirley, for a sec?
Sure. So I've seen one question so far from someone. I'm keeping, and just, I put it in the chat, but just to let everybody know, I'm keeping track of all the questions. And then after she's done doing her presentation and the videos, I'll go ahead and ask her your questions. So if, you know, throughout the live, if you have any, just throw them up and I'll catch them. If I don't catch them, then just tag me so they'll jump out at me. And as far as the wrenches, yeah, we're working on that, but she's a little busy right now, so we'll get that taken care of.
Excuse me laughing here, but I'm going through everything that I'm supposed to go through, and share the screen. Wonderful. Okay. Dear. Okay, here we go.
Just glitches, that's all.
Oh,
Wait.
It's okay. I forgot the video, the audio there.
And we promise it'll be smoother next week too. We've been working on stuff all morning on this.
Well, tell them about my. I mean, oh, never mind.
the sound problem we had a big sound problem this morning. It sounded like we were making a sci-fi horror movie every time Lizzie tried to say something. So that took a while to get that sorted out, but we got that sorted out. It's a matter of, like I said, this is her first time ever doing a live, so she's clicking buttons and moving stuff around and figuring it out. But at least we got the videos full screen, so yay.
Okay, I'm gonna share.
Okay.
would have opportunity to get into the apartment if you were checking on the children every 15 minutes?
How often did you say we were checking?
15 minutes?
That's not what we've said, you know, and it's been widely reported that it was about 30 minutes. Now, that was what our checks were.
Okay, I think from that, you can see where this is going. That the parents went out of their way to make sure that everybody believed there was an abduction. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go over all my graphics, and I studied them last week, and I figured them all out and had it all in my brain. So right now, I'm running a bit odd on them. But the thing is, with them, they made a special point of making sure that everybody knew they were leaving the children alone. Now, why would anybody do that? Why? So I'm hoping that the next graphic or video that I put up will start to explain that. So let's see. I think I tell you what, I'm going to run the next video first, and this is a no abduction video that I did very early. I think it was about, one of my first, and there were so many things that just weren't right. So let's have a look at that, and then maybe I'll get on track. So I do apologize, but we're doing what we can. Okie dokie. So give me 1 sec. And I don't think I'm going to need you, Shirley, for this one, because I think it's all set. Okay, are you still there?
I am. Okay.
Yeah,
let's
still
go.
here.
And there was a small window of opportunity. There's no doubt about it. It was a small window. You're right, there was only a small window of opportunity, but,
Pertinente situado, dormiu Madeline Cam e os gêmeos. Cerca de 15 pessoas. Cam e a mãe de Maddie e o lado. Lembra das GNR Polacos a dizer que uma do Ocean Club na Praia de Luz. Segundo o testemunho da gerente do Ocean Club, GNR chegou ao local, o pai da criança atirou-se aos pés dos militares, como rezam os árabes, completamente descontrolado com o desaparecimento da filha. A cena repetiu-se, segundo os militares da GNR, no quarto do casal.
Passava da meia-noite, quando a GNR avisou o piquete da Polícia Judiciária. Fui informado de imediato e tomei as... Procedeu-se a buscas na região. As autoridades espanholas foram avisadas e as fronteiras controladas. Ter-se-á organizado a maior operação de busca alguma vez feita em Portugal.
While on holiday in a resort in the Algarve. His family friend speaking on GMTV earlier says the family's frantic.
They've been looking themselves, they walked on hedgerows and they've been out shouting, but there's nothing else they can do unless to get support from the police over there or the police here.
That's Jill Rennick. She told GMTV the shutters on the hotel room had been broken and the family believed their daughter's been taken.
Well, as you can imagine, as a mother, it's the worst thing for anybody to happen. She's been taken. She's been taken, that's all they know.
The hotel manager was just exhausted, shattered. He was beside himself, giving a few interviews early that morning.
There's still a lot of mystery concerning the night that Madeline disappeared. Are you willing to share with us what happened that night between 6:30 and 10?
Sandra, we've told everything to the police and it's in the investigative file.
Well, I think you can see from that why there were so many questions about whether or not the abduction actually happened. And okay, I forgot to put pause. Just hold on one sec. There was just so many issues, and just the fact that I think that one showed where Jerry says that he walked in through the patio doors, when in actual fact he told the police the following morning that it was the front door he came in, and then all of a sudden it changed on May the 10th when he did a second interview that he came in through the patio doors. That kind of stuff. But you check it's necessary, and the reason it's probably necessary is because if the doors were locked, how did an abductor get in? So of course he had to change it. He had to change it to make sure that there was an entrance for the abductor. And that's my perception of why he changed his interview and not. But I tell you what, I'm having trouble trying to figure out how to make how to give moderators their wrench. And I thought I did it.
Yeah, you got some of them.
Yeah, you've
did I
modded
get
me
some?
and Carrie. Yeah.
You got
a
it
couple of us.
right.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we can get the rest of them later,
And
but just needed at least one right now.
Yeah, just to keep an eye.
Okay. Well, I'm going to, sadly, I was trying to figure out where the wrenches were, that I didn't watch that video and remember what was on it. But I'm going to put the next one on, which is part 2, and make sure that I keep an eye on it. Okay. And we will do it right. Just give me a sec. So this is part 2.
Raptada. Esta é a versão do crime que nos habituámos a aceitar como a única possível. Mas será que é a verdadeira? Ou esta versão esconde um crime que muitos querem esconder?
Há como uma necessidade de abafar o caso, de silenciar o caso. Eu recordo que várias pessoas foram afetadas, polícias ingleses estão impedidos de falar, outras testemunhas, como os Martin Smith, também têm algum receio, e várias pessoas estão um caso de que as pessoas, algumas ainda têm medo, ou então estão mesmo impedidas de falar.
They're investigating the disappearance of a 3-year-old Leicestershire girl in Portugal amid fears she's been abducted. Madeline McCann. There's 2 people out here and he stops and there is a bizarre.
You think
While you've been here, your views have changed? Yeah.
In
what way? Again, I feel like I need to be careful now. Oh, God, I'm so careful about what I'm saying. It's not as straightforward as it seems.
Havia muitas contradições. A mais evidente era estar alguém naquele quarto quando Gerald entrou.
Se não entrou, só espreitou, também tem que se levar em linha de conta com aquilo que o raptor pode ter pensado. Se é que existe um raptor, e que o raptor não pode confiar que o pai não entrasse dentro do quarto, porque era tentar forçar até essa porta, era praticamente impossível. Materialmente isso não é possível. Não cabia atrás da porta e os armários encontravam-se bloqueados pelos vezes. Mas dado o drama que vivia a família e o clima de comoção, preferimos não fazer deles.
I did my check about 10 o'clock and went in through the sliding patio doors. And I just stood actually, and I thought, oh, all quiet. And to be honest, I might have been tempted to turn around then, but I just noticed that the bedroom door where the 3 children were sleeping, was open much further than we'd left it. I went to close it to about here. And then as I got to here, it suddenly slammed. And then as I opened it, it was then that I just thought, look at the children. And I see Sean and Maddie in the cot. And then I was looking at Madeline's bed, which was here, and it was dark. And I was looking and I was thinking, is that Madeline or is that the bedding? And I couldn't quite make it out. It sounds really stupid now, but at the time I was thinking I didn't want to put the lights on, so I didn't want to wake them. And literally, as I went back in, the curtains of the bedroom, which were drawn, closed. It was like a gust of wind kind of just blew them open. And the carpet was still there, pink blanket was still there. I mean, I knew straight away that she'd been taken.
Se há 21 eventos já viu o raptor com a criança e quem o desaparecimento de Madeline, repare que a janela do quarto das crianças fora totalmente aberta. Por que razão Russell e Matt, que vão verificar os apartamentos depois das 21h20, não veem a janela aberta? É totalmente impossível.
A janela é a prova da veracidade dos testemunhos. Se a menina foi raptada pelo homem que a gente diz ter visto às 21h20, então a partir daí a janela estaria aberta. Matt diz ter estado dentro do apartamento e não ter visto a janela aberta. Donde conclui que a janela só foi aberta depois do pesadelo ao rapto.
They've been watching us over the matter of days, I'm sure. They know. They must have known. That Jerry had just been into the apartment, and then. There's only a small window of opportunity, but
And I also think that you could have the opportunity to get into the apartment if you were checking on the children every 15 minutes.
How often did you say you were checking?
15 minutes?
That's not what's said. And it's been widely reported that it was about 30 minutes. Now, that was what our checks were. Clearly, different people were going at different times. And there was a small window of opportunity. There's no doubt about it. It was a small window. I believe it's a high-risk strategy. And that person almost got caught.
By who?
By Jane.
So yeah, I just got up and walked out of the Tapas bar, past Jerry talking to Jez. That's when I saw somebody walk across the top of the road carrying a child. And I think I did think, oh, there's somebody taking a child. It didn't look like a standard tourist.
I tell you what, if you stand here.
At 9:30, half an hour after Jerry's check, it was Matthew Oldfield's turn to look in on all the children. He went into the McCann's apartment, but didn't go into the bedroom, and so didn't see if Madeline was missing.
Pretty much from your approach down here, you can see straight into the room, so you can see the cots as you're walking. So it never really felt like there was any real need to go all the way into the room. You can see both cots and ceilings from there. As I was wondering about the angle and things, all I just noticed that I had an unimpeded view, and it was just dead quiet. I just, why I didn't take those extra couple of steps in?
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting there saying, but at no point when I went like that did I go stick my head in. That was the only time, because the door was like that for me, and I knew I'd left it.
It's more that, I felt it was quiet.
And part of the reason we ended up coming through the back is the noise coming through the front door. It's just like, you don't want to stand there. Stupid now.
Os cães só reagiram no apartamento em que tivemos McCann. Maddie assinalou ao horror a cadáveres no armário do quarto dos McCann.
Portanto, segundo o perito, aqui está um cadáver, ou da prateleira ou no chão.
Maddie também detectou o cheiro a morto por detrás do sofá da sala do apartamento. Chamada aquela, consegue apontar uma pequena quantidade de sangue por detrás desse mesmo sofá.
Repararam também que havia toda alugada pelos McCann 23 dias depois dos factos, bem como a roupa da Kate e o peluche da Maddie.
foi possível encontrar peluche voador a cadáver numa cama que os cães não assinalaram e sem indícios que Madeleine ali tivesse dormido. O trabalho dos cães não podia ser mais revelador.
Minúsculos restos de sangre. Cuando vosotros os enteráis de eso, de que la policía ha descubierto sangre en el apartamento, ¿cómo reaccionáis?
This is all investigation.
Envolvida volta na investigação. A tese do rato torna-se menos provável que
We are here in Orville. They chose to come here. It's a very safe place. It's a great place to be. Look around. Climate is fantastic. The people are very honest, respectful, polite. And we're not used to this sort of thing. And we need an answer. We need an answer, and I repeat, from that someone who knows. And the sooner, the better. Let's all get back on with our lives. Rokeley can return to being, from what we've seen, and I've not been there, a really nice Leicestershire village. We think we're the same. Whatever the outcome, they have got to live with this for the rest of their lives.
Lizzie?
Yes.
Before you start in talking really quick, when you play a video, you need to mute your mic because we were hearing double echo and it was kind of hard to hear some of it.
Oh, really? Okay. Apologies for that.
Okay. So.
I'm still learning.
Yep, it's fine. It's fine.
That's good. I will. Hang on. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. If I mute the mic, yeah, that'll just stop me, right?
Yeah.
Won't stop the video.
Right.
I will remember that. I did actually see that I'd left Claire out of it, and I did add her.
Yeah.
I'm back. I'm back.
So I know they were two longish videos, but I think they give a good idea of why the abduction is an issue. Obviously, they made so many mistakes, discrepancies. It just didn't add up. And the point is that what you have to consider is the time frame for the abduction, and that, or so-called abduction, and that would be supposedly at that time we were led to believe that it was started because Jane Tanner saw the abductor leave the apartment. Well, Jerry was outside talking to Jez Wilkins when she walked up. There is an issue about Jerry claiming that he was one side of the road and Jez Wilkins saying they were the other side of the road. My thoughts on that is that Jez Wilkins said that they were on the pathway, the normal pathway, the route that you would take from the Ocean Club up to the apartments. Jerry claims they were on the other side of the road, which doesn't make sense because you don't walk on the other side of the road. But Jez also says he didn't see Jane Tanner walk up. And I don't know if you watched the previous video or live or one of them, but the point is that Gonzalo Amaral claims that Jane didn't walk up to the front of the building, that none of the Tapper 7 walked to the front of the building. They all entered through the patio doors. Now, I don't know how he knows that, but obviously he does. I don't think he'd be claiming that if it wasn't part of what they knew. And if Jez and Jerry were talking outside the apartment gates, just before the stairs, and if Jane Tanner walked up and saw the abductor, then when did the abductor get in? And that's the reason I believe a possibility that Jerry claimed it was the other side of the road, because that abductor would have had to have got in before or after Jerry had left the apartment and before Jane walked up. And that was basically 3 minutes. So I think he may have suggested that it was the other side of the road because he wanted to allow for the fact that if it was the other side of the road, he wouldn't have seen an abductor. I don't know. But the point is that 3 minutes, the abductor would have got in, taken Maddie, and be walking across the top of the road. Totally unbelievable. And just, it's just not going to happen. I think we can tell that. And if he'd have got in beforehand, you may have noticed, I'm not sure if you could all read Gonzalo Amaral's comments. Now, some of this included the Portuguese documentary Truth of the Life by Gonzalo Amaral, based on his book. Absolutely, I recommend watching that. If you go to my homepage, you'll see it's the recommended video. It's called Banned. It's got banned right across the front. You can't miss it. I think it's had about 1.5 million views so far. And that is absolutely great to watch and gives so much. You'll learn so much from that. But yeah, so there was really only a 3-minute window of opportunity if we are to go with Jane Tanner's claim that she saw Maddie being taken across the top of the road. She knew the color of her pajamas. She later gave the description, which I think you see is basically an egg with hair. And I think the PJ were, I can't be sure, but I believe the PJ were forced to put out that description. Pretty silly. But anyway, so 3 minutes, impossible. Sorry, that's not going to happen. So the only evidence of abduction was supposedly Jane Tanner's seeing him. So once, and a few years later, Scotland Yard declared that they found the chap that was walking across the top of the road, and therefore that goes out the window. So there is no evidence of any abduction, no evidence at all. As we go past that, and please ask some Okay. Somebody's mentioning about muting my mic? Is that something I should be doing, or?
No, that was when you're playing videos to mute your mic.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, you've got me now. So what, yeah, I'll pass on to the next video, and then we're going to start to get on to the neglect issue. So the next video is the impossible 3-minute window of opportunity. And let's, again, I think we're going to get this okay, with a bit of luck. I'll get really professional at this one day, but
yeah. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah, and we'll keep practicing, because I tell you what, I'm so excited about what we're going to do in the future. This is something which I don't think, and please, if somebody knows of any live broadcasts on the Maddie case, please let me know. But as far as I know, there isn't any. So this is our test. It's definitely a test. And I'm going to share the video. Well, I want to, but it won't click. Okay.
I don't know if that one's going to work. It's just buffering. And just remember, Lizzie, you put yourself on mute, so if you are talking, we can't hear you.
Oh, I did put myself on mute, didn't I?
Yeah, which was good, but since it's just
not
buffering,
when I'm trying to talk.
Right.
No, don't work.
Well, I'm going to abandon that one for now and carry on with some graphics.
Okay,
So,
and just to remind you, there's been a few questions too. So when you're done with those,
okay, no, that would be great to get the questions now.
Okay.
So
throughout the chat, so some of it may be going backwards, but Life All That Matters asked, what do you think the other kids think now?
What do they think now? I think that's always been an issue, wondering what would happen in the future. And I know Sean did reach out and did become known on, particularly on Stephen Birch's channel, I think, or Facebook. Personally, I think that's a pretty sad thing, which I really wouldn't want to think about how they feel. I think, and I tell you what, just off the cuff here, I hope they don't believe any of what we're saying. Sounds silly, but you know, I hope they can live their life. I mean, if it happens that the police actually do come along and charge them, you know, that's something. But I mean, to think that anything that we've said about their parents, although we're going by what the police files say, they don't need it. I mean, no, I'd rather not. I'd rather not go there with that. I think I hope that they live their life believing that their parents are innocent, and if one day it changes, then that's the time that they'll have to deal with it. But for now, I wouldn't like to think that they question. So.
Oh, Melissa, she asked, she said, so he did ask, how much did he ask, Lizzie?
How much did who ask?
The one that you said that went on Facebook and stuff and was asking questions.
Oh, I don't know. It was a very long time ago, and I know Stephen Birch was one that we tried to stay away from because so much of his issues were just really nothing that we wanted to get into. We just know, and I did at the time save pictures from when Sean approached him and said some things, but I mean, I can try and find out. Certainly, if somebody really wants to know what the issues were at that time, I'll certainly try and find it. In fact, anything that you ask, and Shirley, can you keep a note of it, please?
I will.
Anything that you ask, I will certainly look into. But right now, I really can't give any information on Sean. I just know that he did come into the groups. He did approach or was contacted by Stephen Birch. Apart from that, I can't tell you too much.
Okay. So let's see. Well, Daniel Wiltshire made a comment, and this, well, it's kind of a question, but yeah, this goes back to the DNA. Basically, how the McCanns can be allowed to prevent the latest techniques in the DNA after all the public finding and offered for free. So we're kind of back to that, how I think it was not last week, but the week before that, talking about how it was offered to do those, to review the testing and come up with the answers, but for free, and they're not allowing it.
Yeah, it's just outrageous. This is about Mark Salnokonoko's podcast, an amazing investigative journalist who actually contacted and spoke to Mark Perlin, who is an up-to-date forensic, really good. And Mark Perlin has offered to take the DNA and use today's techniques to, if it means it, to eliminate the McCanns. You know, in the back of the car, I'm not sure if it was on the blood spot or maybe there was some other stuff we didn't know about, but there was 15 out of 19 of Madeline's alleles. Allele is just the word they use. I'm not technical. And there was actually 30, I think 30 or 34 or something alleles there. And 15 of Madeline's 19 were in there. High probability it was Madeline. And but the forensics have been questioned. And we know that because I actually played a video. I watched a video this morning of Gonzalo Amaral claiming that they originally were told that the forensics were 100% Madeline, or it was a full match. And I think that may have come through the phone to Piva. I'm not sure. But anyway, he claims that originally they heard that it was, and that's why on that notice is why I think that they were made arguidos. It came back differently. And as Gonzalo Amaral says, why? You know, and if that was the case, those records should still be alongside the results. So it's big questions. And actually, this is something I think Claire was talking about this morning, asking me a couple of things and gave me inspiration. I think that one live I'd like to really focus on some of the really outrageous things, such as why the forensics have disappeared. Another one being that the Panorama chap was asked to talk about, kind of infiltrate the media. Can't put it into words right now, but he was really upset about that, and he didn't, of course, but he was asked. I mean, and several other issues that were really kind of, I can't think of the right word, but very outrageous. So I would like to focus on those on another topic. So I'll be bringing up certainly about the fact that the forensics were hidden, and the fact that Mark Sonakonoko tried so hard. He went to the Home Office to check on this, and they refused. Everybody has refused. Scotland Yard, I don't think whether he heard back from the Portuguese police or not, I don't know, but they've been refused. Now they can prove if he was, and he doesn't even need the actual tests. He as long as he's got the report, he can decide from all that information whether or not Madeleine was in the back of the car. He can do that. He can eliminate. In fact, they should have been able to do it from the start, because they have all the DNA profiles of everybody in the group, all the officers involved in the collection, everybody. They could have eliminated those other 20 odd alleles, and they didn't. And that leaves you saying, why? You know, it's a question that leads us to believe that there is so much being covered up. I mean, there's no question. If there's 30 alleles, 15 of them belong to Maddie. She's only got 19, and 15 of her 19 were in that 34 or whatever it was. And the rest, why didn't they check everybody else and eliminate them? And I thought it was just me that thought that, but we do have a video of somebody saying, you know, that this should have been eliminated. And I think even Mark Perlin. So I do recommend, absolutely, as I do every week, that you take a listen to Mark Sonakonoko's podcast. Shirley has just gone through the whole lot, I think, now, right, Shirley?
Yep, I finished it. And I know, like I said, I sound like a broken record, but it really was one of the best podcasts, and it gave me definitely a foundation for this case. And it was that DNA one. That one just bothers me so much. And then reading in the chat, a lot of people are thinking the same thing. If it's free, why it makes no sense. But yes, his podcast is great, and he has a new one, right?
Yeah. And I have no idea. I don't usually ask. I wait for him to tell me. And he did let me know, and he has shown the first podcast about Christian Bruckner. Not a subject that interests me, because we know that she wasn't abducted. The basics, the summary of Christian Bruckner is there was no evidence that he was even in the area. I've heard all these phone ping things, but that's really, he wasn't in the area. He wasn't near. There was no evidence. It's a load of bull toddle.
Yeah, that was never really.
I'm sorry. It's
I just said, if I Google that, is there a description for that? I've never heard that word before, but okay.
You've never heard that one? Shirley,
No,
I thought you knew me. That's my favorite go-to word. But no, there's nothing to indicate that Christian Bruckner has anything to do with it. I mean, they've had some real silly. Maybe we'll do a live with some of the suspects, but they're so silly. It's probably not even worth it. We know that she died in the apartment, and I think that to me is the most important thing to establish. And we have even the forensics. John Lowe, the chap at the forensics, even he says outright it could be a match to Madeleine. There's been none of the forensics exclude Madeleine. They may not prove it's her because they require the 100% kind of thing, but they don't. None of the forensics exclude Madeleine, and that is the most important thing. When you've got separate forensics and Madeleine's DNA is in all of them, no, I think we all know from that.
Well, that kind of leads into another question that Hannah asked. She said, do you believe, Lizzie, that one day someone will speak out? The tapas surely will break eventually. It's a difficult secret to keep.
I believe some of them actually have already. And that's because we tend to ignore the media, because the majority of the media are very, very, very McCann oriented, and for good reason, which one topic will be about the press and how the press manipulated everything. Kate and Jerry manipulated everything. But every now and again, we get little leaks. And at one point, and this is going way back to probably about 2009, where it was claimed that Jane Tanner actually did go to the Portuguese police and change her statement. It's something we would never know about because the files were released in 2008. So anything that's happened since then, we won't know about. I mean, we're working on files from the immediate disappearance. So if you think about it, in 2008, the files were released, and supposing Jane Tanner did go and change her statement in 2009, we wouldn't have any idea of that. That is the police. Anything else that happened, we would not know about because the files were released before. So anyway, from this news report, it did claim that she made a U-turn, and she did go back and she did change her statement. So yes, in answer to that question, I do believe that some of them are speaking up. It must be so tough for them, and that's video at the beginning. Can you imagine? They were there. It wasn't their fault that they were there. And I don't believe for one second that they neglected their children, which we'll get into in a minute again. But I don't believe that for one second. And all of a sudden, and they had no idea of what was to come, because at that point, 2007, social media hadn't really taken off a lot. And but it did. And look what they've had to go through. I don't know how they've done it. I think some of them have split up, but they weren't there. I mean, I don't blame them at all. I blame, when I say blame, I mean, yeah, they should have had the courage to speak up. But then look at the might of the McCann team. It would be tough. It would be intimidating for anybody to speak out to the media against the McCanns. It would just be too much. So it's probably easier for them to keep silent.
Yeah, and Devil's Advocate asked earlier, why are the UK authorities afraid of clearing the McCann's name?
Well, they aren't cleared.
Well, I think and my point of view is, you know, they're also refusing to give those reports to Mark Perlin. So if the authorities believe, you know, that she didn't, or that the McCanns didn't do it, why wouldn't they? That's kind of the thing.
Oh, I'm sure there's lots of politics behind it. The fact is, if the forensics were able to prove anything, we all know which direction they prove it. So there's no way that they'd ever want those looked at. The Portuguese might, but you know what? I think the Portuguese have got enough on that. I honestly believe that they have, and I'm not just being positive here. I think when we realize that the only thing right now that they have, that from my understanding that they have to charge the McCanns would be if there was a body or if somebody spoke out. And that's not going to happen. I think all of the other information they've got, so maybe they don't need those forensics. They've got their own forensic ability too. And they did send the hairs from the veranda, they sent to their own Portuguese forensics laboratory. Now, if those hairs, which they can, and Gonzalo has talked about this, if those hairs now with the new techniques can be proven to not only be Maddie's, but also be from a deceased body, then they've got that, you know. So, you know, I mean, I don't know for sure, but that's my belief. I believe that it's a very good possibility that Scotland Yard might be hanging on every year because they can't do anything till the police, the Portuguese police who are in charge of it. The Scotland Yard can deal with the fund and all the other stuff, but they can't deal with Madeline's disappearance as such. And that's probably why they never dealt with the abduction or who was involved in the abduction, because that's not their jurisdiction. It has to be through the Portuguese police. And so maybe they're just hanging on. Maybe they know all about the fund. Maybe they know some of the real discrepancies in the fund. I'm not sure, but you know, that's another story, isn't it? So, okay,
I think it was the last episode of Mark's podcast, the last one or the second to last one. He starts talking about the fund. So there's some info, and I can't remember everything he said off the top of it, but there was some information in there. Just so people know that if you're kind of interested in that, he does talk about that in either the last one or the second to the last episode.
Yeah. Oh, he's so good. But also, again, I was looking at a video this morning that I'd done on the fund, and as I mentioned before, I did a absolutely detailed summary of everybody that had contributed to the fund, and added up the ones we actually knew the amounts, and then added them up, and was left with all these people that had added money, but we didn't know how much. The actual amount of what we knew had been added was what the McCanns claimed. They never added all the rest of Stephen Wynyard and everybody else that were giving them unlimited money. So the fund was pretty much, that's going to be in a video, because I mean, it was just crazy with Clarence claiming, oh, just send it in an envelope to Rothley, it'll get here. I mean, it's unbelievable. And they only actually spent 13% of the fund money on searching for Madeleine, and the rest was spent on everything else. I mean, is that bad or what? Tells you something, and they're the facts because they come from Company's House. So
right. So Cleo asked a question earlier, and I hope this is the right one. I was trying to go through the chat, so I apologize if it's not. I'll keep looking. But it says SY found the man carrying his daughter from the crash, but they still maintain the appeal for for that person. Why?
Hang on, I didn't quite get that. Are we talking about the Smiths here?
I just read the question. I didn't read the context of what it was from. So if that, Cleo, if you can just, in the chat, if you could just reiterate that and expand on it.
Yeah, I can't see the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
as soon as I do, I will read it.
Yeah, because we've got the two.
The Tanners, not the Smith.
The what?
The Tanners, Cleo said.
Cleo said no Tanners. So she's talking about
the Tanner man.
Jane Tanner.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jane Tanner saw a chap.
Okay, FY Scotland Yard. Sorry, I didn't know what that was. So I just read. So Scotland Yard. So let me try reading that question again. Scotland Yard found the man carrying his daughter from the creche. I hope I'm saying that correctly too. From the creche, but they still maintained the appeal for that person. Why? And then they reiterated the Tanners. Jane Tanner.
Yeah. So still trying to find that that the person that walked across the top of the road that Jane Tanner saw was supposedly, and I have reservations on it, identified several years later, as Scotland Yard told us, which took away the fact that Jane Tanner was part and parcel of ever seeing any evidence of an abduction, leaving none. I mean, without that, there is nothing whatsoever. And I have to say that I did notice in some of my videos, which were done back in 2011, that I'd mentioned there was no evidence of abduction. I did mention plant material, lichen or lichen on the windowsills, but that wasn't ever proven. So I was wrong to actually put that into a video, but it's just a small thing. There was nothing else that would indicate there was any abduction whatsoever. So I think the next one is ready, and I'm going to go straight to that. And it's about the 3-minute window, the impossible 3-minute window of opportunity.
Just don't forget to mute your mic.
Oh, good. Yeah, keep reminding me on things like that. Otherwise, I might start singing in the background, right? That would be odd. Okay.
The volume's not on for the video, though. Lizzie, we can't hear the video. And we can't hear you.
You're on mute, Lizzie.
You're still on mute.
Yeah.
I just picture her sitting there just talking.
Yeah, there she is.
Is that what you were asking? In other words, tell me to shut up.
The audio wasn't playing on the video.
Okay, so was there... Okay, I'm going to try again and then let me know.
Okay. No, I don't hear anything.
No, me either.
Okay, so we'll start again. And this time, hopefully, you will hear something. No, you won't. This time you might hear it if I concentrate.
They've been watching us over the last few days, I'm sure. You know, they know, you know, they must have known, you know, that Jerry had just been into the apartment, and then you're right, there was only a small window of opportunity, but, you know.
And how do you think that you could have opportunity to get into the apartment if you were checking on the children every 15 minutes?
How often did you say we were checking?
15 minutes? No?
That's not what we've said, you know,
No?
and it's been widely reported that it was about 30 minutes. Now, that was what our checks were. Clearly, different people were going at different times, and there was a small window of opportunity. There's no doubt about it. It was a small window. I believe it's a high-risk strategy, and that person almost got caught.
By who?
By Jane. There was a small window of opportunity. There's no doubt about it. It was a small window.
You're right, there was only a small window of opportunity, but, you know.
Lizzie, you're still on mute.
Io appartamento no.
You're on mute, Lizzie.
about to unmute. Unfortunately, because it was going round in circles, it wouldn't stop. And I was on mute and couldn't tell you. This is a computer issue where it's not listening to me. Like most people. But anyway, so we got that. So now we've established there was only 3 minutes of an opportunity to abduct. That's out the window. Well, that was the wrong thing to say, wasn't it? But anyway, that's out the window. So now I would like to go to an issue which I think a lot of people have an interest in, and that is they often ask why. Why were they not charged with abduction? And sadly, because I haven't had time to look at these graphics in sequence, but I do think I start with that. But anyway, let's go through them and see exactly what we have. So let me just see what we have here. So what we're going to find is that there was no way they could have been charged with abduction. It was not an issue for the Portuguese police. They need to be made, they need to be intent, and that's why they could never be charged with abduction. So can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
I can see it. Yeah.
Okay, this is something which back in 2008, here in April of 2008, I wrote a post that, and it went something like this. So I'll read it. And this is very early in the case, right? I understand that some people don't give credibility to the dog's findings. And then May the 3rd was a night out, or a little over an hour, and Maddie was still alive, and she could have been abducted. For those that believe the dogs, the McCanns were aware of me clicking the thing wrongly. The McCanns were aware of Maddie's death before they went out because of the time it takes for the death scent to be released. So if she didn't die, if she died before the death scent would be released, she would need to have died before they left. For dogs, now we don't know exactly the time frame, but dogs do have a different level of finding out. So is there a reason that it's considered a night out when it appears to be a little over an hour? With the knowledge of the death, it would have to have been used to prepare for to create the abduction. Tissues are very possibly non-existent for that night, and that's what I absolutely believe. I don't believe they neglected them. I think that Thursday night was made to prepare for the abductor, and that's what they needed. You know, they needed that time. They certainly couldn't have done it in 3/4 of an hour. I'm sorry. There's no way. I've done posts on it so many times. But what happened back in April of 2008, I was claiming that because they were neglected, because there was no neglect, they had to say that. Because without a neglect, there couldn't have been an abductor come in to take Madeline. And it took a couple of years. And I think the next post is, that one was 2008. if this is the right one, then it was back in 2009. I was still asking, still trying to find it, still trying to push the fact that how could Madeline have been abducted if there was no neglect? So the fact was they had to pretend they were neglected, and that goes down with Jerry saying about the talking to Jazz and telling him, oh yeah, we left the kids in the apartment and we go to dinner. Kate leaving a message, which I think I've actually got here. She puts in her book, it wasn't until a year later, when I discovered I was combing through the Portuguese police files, that I discovered that the note requesting our block booking was written on a staff message book. We never saw this in the files. I do have a copy of it now. Somehow the copy got out, but we weren't released everything. Jerry and Kate really received more files than we did. A block booking, which sat on the desk in the poor reception for most of the day. This book was by definition accessible to all staff, and albeit unintentionally, probably to guests and visitors too. To my horror, I saw that, no doubt in all the innocence and simply to explain why she was bending the rules a bit, the receptionist had added the reason for our request. We wanted to eat close to our apartments as we were leaving our young children alone and checking on them intermittently. Now, I think from day one, I remember thinking, why on earth would any parent admit when your child's been abducted? Why would they admit to leaving them alone? I mean, even if they had, you'd kind of say, no, we didn't leave them alone. No, we were checking every 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. No, the McCanns went out of their way to make sure that everybody knew they weren't checking their children. And as the previous video, he didn't check them for you checked them every 15. No, we didn't. Not every 15 minutes. No, it was every 30 minutes. He denied, even when. I think you get what I'm trying to say here, is that they went out of their way to make sure that everybody knew that she was left alone. And they had to, because otherwise the abduction theory couldn't. The first one I wrote in April, and April of 2008. This one I wrote in 2009, November, and if you can see, nobody was going. Everybody ignored me, and I'm saying, am I the only one who feels that the McCanns are getting away with concealing Madeline's death and faking an abduction? Because everybody is so focused on the need to be angry with them about neglect. And that is, as Carrie will know, that is something which absolutely, it makes me mad, because if you notice, a lot of people blame the parents. Well, the parents left her, they didn't. The point is, what you're saying is, the parents left her, they left him alone, they neglected her. You're basically enforcing the fact that an abductor could have come along. So this is all the reason that the McCanns claimed they neglected them, because it was a trade-off. It was a smokescreen. They'd rather be, which they were for years, blamed for neglect and leaving their children alone, rather than the truth. And that is why. So when somebody, I have to avoid those threads. When somebody comes in and says, oh yeah, McCann's neglected their children, they're terrible parents, they're this, they're, I'm sorry, I don't believe it. Because that if you start telling people the parents neglected their children, you're basically telling them to believe there was an abduction, which I don't believe there was. So I get a little bit het up with that. But and you can see here, we're a year and a half. I mean, I'd done posts before the April, so we're like 2 years into me searching for people who thought that. And finally, in 2010, Julie CL from Maddie Case Files, I think she finally put the thing together. She finally agreed with me and put this together. No neglect equals no abduction. Because if there was neglect, then the abductor couldn't have got in. Oh, the other way around, you know what I mean. So, following on from that, the parents immediately attributed the disappearance to the action by a third party this is from the files, defending the abduction. They immediately, there wasn't any of this, oh, she's run off, she's gone somewhere. No, they knew it was an abductor, and they stuck with that, because first thing you hear, and this is from the files, the abduction hypothesis was investigated exhaustively. All the information leading to this and other possibilities having been examined fully. No ransom request was made, nor were there any sufficiently consistent indications to substantiate this supposed abduction. And there, right there, is the page where that's held. This is what the police believe, that there was no abduction. And neglect. Where is the evidence? I mean, there isn't any evidence that they actually did leave them alone. The McCanns say so. Would you believe them? You know, why? Nothing else. Do you believe Madeline disappeared because she was left alone? Abducted. One of the friends went back to the apartments nearly every night. Why not say the children were being watched? And that's the point. At this point, your daughter has supposedly been taken and the police are questioning you. Why wouldn't any normal person say, well, we were all taking turns on looking after her. I don't know how it happened. But they couldn't say that because then there couldn't have been an abduction if they were being looked after. So it's just a mantra, and it serves a purpose. And if you notice, out of all the media reports in the last 13 years, that is the only negative comment you will find in papers. They've allowed it because they know by allowing everybody to think that they were left alone, then that's an automatic reason for, well, they were left alone, and that's what happened. The abductor came in. It's a kind of a subconscious thing, I guess. There is an issue that came up when, after Gonzalo Amaral was removed, he wasn't fired, he wasn't sacked. He was removed back to Faro. Paulo Ribeiro, I think his name was, he took over. And one of the first things he did was went to the apartment, and you can't see it here, but just on the right-hand side, there's pictures of him in the apartment. And they claimed, the Daily Mail claimed, and this is one of those media reports that, although it wasn't, I searched and searched for this day that he was out there looking at the apartment. Excuse me. I searched and searched. I could not find excuse me, any indication, but he was there. He was photographed. We know he was there. And from that, the media reports claimed that there was actually 6 or 7 children in the apartment, and I wish I could read it, but I can't. So, okay, yeah, Madeline was left in a room with 6 other youngsters, and they gave no explanation as to the whereabouts of the 8th child. So 1 child was missing. We don't know everything about what happened, but I absolutely believe that that was the case. And as far as the abduction goes, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, they claim there is no evidence on either case. They were talking about the Ben Needham case as well, and this is formal, December of 2009. There is no evidence in either case to support whether the children were abducted or not abducted. So, you know, it's a fact. I mean, this is not just made up that we're claiming that there was no evidence. It's just a fact, and you can see it right there. Okay, and this is the issue that I think a lot of people get lost on. They believe that why weren't they charged with neglect? Apart from the fact that there was no evidence that they were neglected, no evidence whatsoever. Just the McCanns have told us they were left alone. We have no evidence. In fact, I absolutely believe quite the opposite. But the point is, even if they had, it's the crime of exposure or abandonment, according to Article 138 of the Penal Code, can be eliminated. This legal type of crime is only fulfilled with intent. And it is evident that none of the Aguidos, Gerald or Kate, acted with intent. So there you go. There is in the files, that's the reason that they could never be charged with abduction. And here's just a graphic. So here you can see the McCann's apartment, the Oldfields apartment, which was right next door. And Mrs. Fenn was over, as you can see, she was over this apartment of the Oldfields as well as Jerry and Kate McCann's apartment. And that's where I've always said there's a possibility of the door that she heard. Look how her balcony is almost over the Oldfields apartment. It's very, you know, I'm not saying it did, but it's possible. She, you know, her window, her balcony is right next to the McCann's, the Oldfields sliding doors, whereas here you'd have to be over here. And I think you can just see it's very possible that this daddy that she heard and the patio doors may have been the Oldfields. The Paynes were up here on, well, I call it the first floor, but I don't know what. And the Tanners and O'Briens were over here. So that's just basically where they looked, and then they'd have to walk up. You can see the end of the road there. It's just a short little distance. So that's the location. And this is what I say. She wasn't abducted because she was neglected. That was not the reason she was neglected. Didn't disappear. She died. It was performed by a simulation of kidnapping and created a situation of the child's surveillance by Dr. Kate McCann and Gerald McCann are involved in the occultation of the cadaver of their child, Madeline McCann, from the police files, not from me or anybody else. It's how was it faked? There is so much going through here. Just a quick one. I mean, in the Matthew, I'm not sure. This is Matthew Oldfield. In their statements, their rogatory statements, they claimed that it was important to them for getting together and being close to each one another for their to look after their children. So, okay, that's part. Again, I apologize. I didn't have time to read over those before we started today because I had a computer that just went kaput on me, and we won't discuss it. But I was determined we were going to start at 3:30, even if we weren't ready, because this is really a test. I mean, but I'm really, honestly, I mean, don't take tonight as being how it's going to be. I'll have it all sorted, and I'm really looking forward to what we can do on here from now on. I'll have all of this is just the basics, but I'm really looking forward to how we'll start to move on, and maybe have lives where it can just be questions. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have a lot of questions about the case, and you can come up. There was the other yes, okay, this part I'm sorry I'd forgotten about. They were asked to do a reconstruction a year to the day after, and they refused. They totally refused. So did all the Tapa 7. As Wilkins was asked, because he was part of the meeting on the road, he really didn't want to, and to be honest, who could blame them? But the McCanns and the friends did not want to, because they considered it, why would they gain anything from it? They can't see the point of all the disruption it would cause to their busy work schedules and families, if, as they believe, it will do absolutely nothing to help Madeline. I mean, the police wanted to put together a reenactment exactly the same date a year later, and nobody would do it because they didn't think it would help. Well, how would you be if your child was missing? And I'm going to run through this here, but I think actually I'm going to finish on the I'm not sure if it's the next video or whatever. If you can just give me a moment. Shirley, are you around?
I am.
Goodo. I've just got to work on this because I have to concentrate, and I can't concentrate and talk, can I? Okay. Is there any questions or anything?
There's been a few. Just a basic one. Rev Green asked, why did the Tapa 7 lie?
I think they were probably intimidated. I don't know if I've watched a few shows where I've been unable to, it's hit me. Wow, you can see how they were made to believe that, even though it was not right. Did Jerry go to them and say, listen, poor Maddie's died, everybody's gonna and we can't afford to we don't, who knows if it was an accident or not. I'm trying to stop this, but it takes a while because it doesn't listen to me. Not listening, it's going to start again. It takes it's okay, it's stopped now. Oh geez, and then it stopped and then it came back on again.
And I don't know if this question is taken out of context of something else that was being talked about in the chat, but Devil's Advocate asked, why would the McCanns know more about police work than the PJ? I think that's, kind of a rhetorical question, but
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Well, it was just talking about, I think, about the stuff that the McCanns have claimed. It said, why would the McCanns know more about the police work than the PJ? Which, obviously they didn't, but devil's advocate says again, why wouldn't they want to clear their name instead of arousing more suspicion if they were innocent? And that's, when I'm seeing this stuff, that's the point. That doesn't make sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if they were innocent, they would want to clear their name, but they don't want to clear their name because they know darn well what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think, don't quote me on this. I think it was maybe on Mark's podcast where the question was raised. Not the question, but the whole thing about the neglect. That if they're guilty and all that stuff comes about, it's better to be looked at by the entire world as being neglectful parents as opposed to being parents that caused her death. So because who would, like what you were saying about the 30 minutes, why would they basically make themselves look more neglectful than that's what didn't make sense. And so that's what brought up that they would rather be looked at as neglectful parents than parents that caused her death.
And I mean, if I totally irrelevant because it would never have happened, but find my children were abducted or a child was abducted, do you think for a second I'd be saying, oh yeah, I left him alone? You'd fib just because. You just would,
And I would, and someone else brought up a point that if you thought that your child was kidnapped, you're gonna leave your other two children in the same apartment with the same unlocked door to run and call for somebody. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Your first reaction would be to protect the ones that are right there.
Absolutely. I mean, here's a so-called, oh, did I not stop that? Here's a so-called abductor, just taken one child or one's missing and you leave your others alone. And as Gonzalo said, that was a big deal. That was a big moment that they realized that Kate didn't care about the other children. She'd rather go over and do her act over at the tapas bar and do that. But the fact that they wouldn't come back for reconstruction, I mean, that is the excuses they made were the police made every opportunity for them. They said, we won't broadcast to the media, we won't do this, and they still would not come. And they were also a bit scared because they were arguidos, and I guess they thought if they went back they might be taken, but the others weren't. But no, and the reconstruction was a major thing. And this video actually does go into the details of why they claimed they couldn't do it. But I love the bit at the end, and I remember it was I think it was Joanna in I can't remember her second name, in Maddie Case Files, who made this, and I asked for a permission to use it. And I just love it. It's kind of like a little Benny Hill thing showing how it must have looked that night. But this is just an example of some of the texts that went between them and the police to try and ask them to do the reconstruction. And it never did happen. Works a bit slow.
And don't forget your mic.
Okay. I'm glad you keep reminding me. What would I do without you, Shirley?
Well, we would hear the video twice at the same time.
Okay.
let's deal now with that effort to turn out any more facts that may be out there. This came in from Vicky Leeming, and I suppose it's a question about why are you here in the United Kingdom right now, not in Portugal? She said, if you truly will do anything to help find your daughter, why do you not agree to go back to Portugal and take part in a reconstruction on the week that led up to the events to the disappearance of Maddie?
I think we'll answer the first bit first. Clearly, the vast majority of tourists in the Algarve this time last year were from Britain and Ireland. So a lot of the witnesses have got vital information that come forward. The reconstruction is under discussion, and we're very concerned that that date has been made public in a process. Why is that investigational detail been made public? How can you do a reconstruction with what will... And so that there are questions. And
so, Jerry, you are saying you will go back for a reconstruction. I mean, there is a suspicion, isn't there, that having been made arguidos, that if you go back there, that the Portuguese police might say, well, come on then, come into the station again for a few hours, a few days.
No, it's not so much that we're not the only people who have been asked to go. So the process isn't dependent on Kate and I saying yes or no. It's dependent on other people. And it's back to what additional information will be gained to help the search for Madeleine. We've told everything in our statements. Our friends have been re-interviewed voluntarily, I might add. They didn't have to participate, and they've given all the information.
But it's footage, Jerry, that would go around the world. I mean, that reconstruction of you two walking along in the precise footsteps that you can remember that you took that night.
All that information's there, isn't it? I mean, clearly, if we feel that there is anything that might help bring information that'll find Madeleine, of course we'd agree to it, but we need to be reassured of that.
Tell me who's been fooling you? Tell the truth. Tell me who's been fooling you sit there looking so cool while the whole show was passing you by. Better come to terms with your little man's too, because oh, how you're shaking now, I can feel it. News on is breaking now, I can see it. Tell the truth. Tell me who's been fooling you. Tell the truth. Now who's been fooling doesn't matter just who you are or where you're going to be. Open your heart, look into your heart, yeah. Oh, heart is shaking now, I can feel it. Your heart is breaking now, I can see it. See it, yeah. See it. See it, yeah. See it. See it, yeah. Tell the truth.
You're on mute, Lizzie.
I clicked unmute on the other thing, but it didn't do it. And then what's new?
Yep, you're good now.
Yeah. I just love that with the old Benny Hill thing there. You know, Joanna did a great job. It just shows, you know, that there were, in that night, that last night, there was, oh, okay, I forgot to do something. So, yeah, in that night, there were so many trips backwards and forwards. There was only 5 minutes of the actual, all of them, one of them, all of them at the table at one time. And that 5 minutes means that that was 5 minutes that we know the children were left alone. But if Madeline had died, they probably had all the other children in one apartment. And to be honest, I don't even believe Jane Tanner was at the table at any time. Okay. If my computer would respond at the right minute, I'd know what I was doing. But yeah, I don't believe Jane Tanner was at the table at night. I think this was mentioned earlier. There was never any evidence of her being there. Same as the Wednesday night. That was it Wednesday that Kate, or maybe Thursday, that Stephen Carpenter. No, Wednesday was Jez Wilkins. When Kate and Jane did not go to the tapas bar with their husbands. Jerry and Russell went alone. And Jez Wilkins was there, did not remember seeing Kate. And my belief is that on the Wednesday is when, you know, Kate would have, if like before the Tuesday or whatever, Kate would be grieving. There is no question. There was no evidence that nothing in the statements anyway, to say that they actually were there. Kate was actually there. And Stephen Carpenter was there on the Thursday, I think. And I'm not sure that he actually claimed that Kate was there. On the Tuesday, the quiz mistress said that a place was missing and she doesn't remember seeing Kate. So it really does look to me like there was a good possibility that Kate didn't go to the tapas until Thursday, which was the main night. That's just my thoughts from what I've seen.
And that kind of goes into a question that was asked earlier, and I know you went over this a couple weeks ago, but and I apologize, I didn't see who asked the question. Asked what you think happened, and you had gone over her last credible sighting, so that kind of led into what your belief is. But maybe if you just want to touch on that again real quick.
Yes, I will. And the reason I will is because I haven't had much opportunity to go through all the chat, because sometimes the chat wasn't available, but I have often heard people asking me what's my opinion of what happened. And I have detailed it in, detailed it to a point in the HDH WordPress blog, but we covered the discrepancies on the first episode from Saturday, and then on the second episode we looked at the discrepancies on Thursday. And going by those discrepancies, I will just tell it as I think, without referring to the discrepancies or anything, that I believe, from what I understand and the knowledge I learnt from all the tapas statements and the discrepancies within those statements, which tells me that there was an issue Tuesday morning, and right through Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So Monday, we don't know too much about. Sunday is the day that I discovered the last proven sighting. So what I believe might have happened is that they all arrived on the Saturday. They came by 2 different planes and all arrived. Jane Tanner and the others arrived in the afternoon, lunchtime, and Jerry and Kate and the Paynes arrived later on in the afternoon. They went to the tapas for a get-together to find out about childcare and tennis and everything like that. Following that, they went to the Millennium, which was quite a walk away, and they took all the children there, and Madeline was there, and they had their supper at 7:30 or something, then returned home, where the children went to bed. Kate and Jerry relaxed, and then the next morning, we don't know a lot about the next day. We don't know. That was Saturday. Sorry, I'm thinking of Monday. So Sunday, they got up and they say that they went to the pool, which you'd imagine they would. It was a nice day. That's when I believe that the last picture was taken. So there was, I can't remember offhand what happened for the rest of the day. There wasn't a lot of issues on Sunday. Monday, we know very little about. Nobody was willing to say anything about Monday. Now, that could be just purely from memory. It might be because that's the point something happened and they were trying to hide something. I won't go into the crash details, but that's basically what, if you think about it, that might very well have been the case, that something happened Monday. And Tuesday morning, by Tuesday morning, I believe something had happened to Madeline. I've never said that she died. She may have been fatally hurt and kept in the apartment. I don't know. But there is Tuesday morning, there was definitely an issue because the discrepancies started. There is no evidence that I can find that shows that she was at her tennis in the morning. All the discrepancies just show that no, she wasn't around during the course of Tuesday. Tuesday night was when Mrs. Fenn supposedly heard a child shouting, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." Everybody has always believed that that was Madeline. Now, some say that it could have been Kate crying, "Madeline, Madeline, Maddie, Maddie," whatever. I look at the possibility that maybe it didn't come from the McCann's apartment. Maybe it came from the apartment next door where Rachel and Matt were. And as I showed you on the picture, it was directly under Mrs. Fenn's apartment. And what a lot of people are not aware of, that Rachel has made claim that she used to bath some of the children, or at least, no, she used to bath Jane and Russell's child, the one that looked like Madeline. Now, why would she be bathing her if there wasn't some kind of schedule to look after the children? It's never been addressed a lot, but it's a fact. That's what she claims. That was Tuesday. Tuesday we went through. But what happens Wednesday is where I believe the files have been released. I believe without question that the police know that something happened earlier, because on Wednesday morning, Kate phoned her friend in Britain, her friend, at 7:30 in the morning. Around, and everything I'm saying today is from memory, so please forgive me if I'm a little bit off on things. But it's sometime around 8, Jerry started receiving the 14 text messages. Now, that might not mean too much, except a month before, in 2008, just before they were going to close the case and release the files, a month before that, in May, June, the prosecutor applied to the Supreme Court, or the big court. I know there was a dispute, just to be clarified, but they applied to the Supreme Court to get those text messages. They were of vital importance, enough that they had to take it to court to try and get those text messages. Now, can anybody think of a reason why, if it was a plain holiday and Madeline was abducted on the Thursday night, why these text messages were so important? And they just started coming in Wednesday morning, and I've forgotten when he got the rest, but they started. Also, I believe there was some issue with somebody about 8:30 in the morning. So that to me tells me that the police are looking at Wednesday issues. So I really do believe they know more than what everybody thinks they know. So we go through Wednesday, and can't think offhand. We go through Wednesday and into Thursday, and I believe during the Wednesday, if something happened to Madeline on Monday before the discrepancies started, then, as I said before, I think Kate would have been grieving. I think they would have been getting together and figuring out what to do. And by the Wednesday, there was an issue because they stayed late at the tapas. Now, if they decided, okay, we're going to arrange for the abduction on Thursday. So Diane, they may have had to have waited for Diane to leave. Diane was the grandmother, the mother of Fiona Payne. So maybe, and I don't believe she was involved in any way. So they'd have to wait till she'd gone. And they actually stayed late, right through till 1 o'clock. So as the waiter was really upset, the fact that they stayed after midnight. And, if you think about it, is it possible that that's when they were trying to get together to arrange everything? Because the following day they wouldn't have had chance. So that was an issue on Wednesday. Thursday morning, I don't believe anything of this happened, of what they claim about getting up, going to the creche, going to the pool where the last photo was taken, because there was too many discrepancies and none of them fitted. And they basically, Fiona, who claimed the last time she saw Madeline was when she was at tennis, she was supposedly in the court next to the pool at the time they were supposed to be taking that picture. And Jane, who was playing tennis with her, said that Maddie was shouting through the fence. Nothing from Fiona to even mention that Madeline was there. And we know she didn't think Madeline was there, because she said she hadn't seen her since Thursday, whether Tuesday or Thursday. Whether that was the case, she hadn't seen Maddie. So no, she did not see Maddie at the pool at 2:30 when that last picture was taken, and yet she was supposedly there. So I think that's a big indication of that pool photo was not taken on Thursday. So we go through. I think at some point during that time, they took Madeline, and she did die, and they took Madeline through the veranda doors, because outside of their bedroom veranda balcony, oh, that's the same, isn't it? Veranda balcony. There were cadaver odors there found by the dogs. Not on the film, because that was done on the 31st. I think this was August the 4th that dogs went back. And there was also hairs found on the veranda. And those hairs were sent to Portugal, not to Britain. So Portugal would have those hairs. And that is quite exciting, really, because we know that the Birmingham forensics were questionable. So at least we know the Portuguese have hairs from the balcony where the cadaver dog alerted, and they were sent to the Portuguese. And I haven't been able to find any record on anything of what happened to them. But obviously, if there was something, it wouldn't have been in the files. So I think she was taken out through the balcony. There was also cadaver odor in the garden next to it, possibly taken down the stairs, just laid in the garden until they had time to get a car and take her wherever they thought. There was an issue of an apartment that might have had a freezer, which Gonzalo Amaral tells us about, possibly taken there. I don't believe she was left there. I think, judging by the phone pings, over the course of June and July, there were so many questions about the phone pings going to Villa de Bispo, Sagres, and several other places in the triangle, it's called, just on the left-hand side of Prague. And so I believe at some point she was taken there. I have no idea where, why, how. But those phone pings stopped. They used to visit for quite a few days prior to in the end of July. These phone pings showed that the McCanns visited Villa de Bispo or thereabouts, because phone pings are never exact, every night for about an hour, and then they'd come back. And then on the 23rd, I think, Jerry went to Washington. And that's at the point that Kate was on her own, and she phoned up Ricardo Paiva, their liaison officer, and told him that she thought that she had a dream that Maddie was laying on a hill somewhere. Now, at that point, Ricardo Paiva thought, this is it. She believes she's dead. I'm sure there was more to the conversation. And that's when they brought in the dogs. And that was around the 23rd, 24th of July. And so they contacted Mark Harrison from Britain and arranged for the dogs to come in. And they did. They came in for about, I think it was the 31st. So on the 31st, they had the dogs, but the McCanns were told about these dogs, and they knew the dogs were coming in. So if you think about it, what I discovered and what I've mentioned before is that the phone pings going down to the Sagres Triangle area stopped on the 28th. And I think there is a possibility that that's the night that they moved her body from wherever it was down in the triangle using the car. And that's where, and probably still in a frozen state, I would imagine, because that's when the car showed signs of, as Gonzalo Amaral says, that a body's been frozen, and it leaked over the wheel onto the curb, or it's hard with translation to know exactly, but he believes that with the nice weather, the trunk was left open for a week at the end of July. The brother-in-law claims that they dropped shopping in there and were airing it out because the blood had leaked from the he was preempting the fact of blood being found in the car. Keep in mind that there is lots of DNA, Maddie's, that would have been in the car. Lots of it. I mean, DNA comes from everything, but they specifically chose blood dogs. So it was only blood and human body fluid with blood in it that the dogs would alert to. and they don't alert to pork or anything like that. So I believe she was moved from the triangle, or it's possible. I mean, I don't know for sure, but this is all that, as I see phone pings every day, and suddenly they stop. And then the dogs come in a couple of days later. It's almost like they were trying to move her before the dogs came in. And so the dogs alerted in the car. Gonzalo Amaral tells us that there was likely, the body was placed in there, and because of the warm temperatures, some fluid leaked over the tire. That was July 31st that the dogs came in. On August the 1st, I think, is when John Corner came, their friend who does the videos. He's a very close friend of theirs. He came over, and on the 2nd, I think, of August is when they went off to, was it Fatima? Golly, I'm sorry, I can't remember if it was Huelva or Fatima that they went to on the 1st, where they just, it must have been Fatima, that they distribute all the posters. But the fact was that it was a holiday and they were missing. The car was missing for a 2-hour period during the course of that time. So, well, that's questionable. And so that's what I believe is what happened. And at that point, after the blood dogs came in and the results came back where they were told, which was retracted later, but they were told that all of the contained all of Madeleine's DNA. That's at the point they made them arguidos, and they knew they were going to be arguidos. They were approached by Ricardo Paiva, and from what I understand, they were really upset about it. And so they knew it was going to happen. On September the 9th, I think Kate went in, or the 8th, Kate went in. It was over 2 days. They were both declared arguidos, and although they didn't want them to leave, they didn't make them stay. So that's when they immediately got on a plane, left, came home. There was other things too, but that's the basics of what I think happened. I don't know whether it made sense or not, but it's what I see. Does that make any sense to you, Shirley? I know not a lot of what I say does.
No, it made perfect sense to me.
So so I think what I want to do, I mean, are there any questions?
So there is one. Somebody keeps asking about the pictures and the dates on the pictures. Let me find.
On the last picture?
Yeah, holiday snaps, family handout photo dated 2/5/2007 of Jerry McCann playing with his children, left to right, Madeleine and Sean laughing the day before Madeleine went missing on the evening of May.
Yeah, well, those pictures in the playground, if you look at them, they're basically, most of them are wearing the same clothes they did on the way over. I just look at that and I think, you know what, that was probably the first night they arrived. Madeleine changed her trousers, the rest of it was the same. Jerry, he changed something, I can't remember what it was, but certainly looks like it could have been taken on the Saturday. As far as the pictures go, just looking at, for example, the last picture, the picture by the pool, I mean, there were thousands and thousands and thousands of posts of people claiming that it was photoshopped and everything else. And certainly that picture did not appear until the 23rd of May, after Jerry had gone home to pick up a pillowcase to get the DNA from. There wasn't any showing in the apartment, and the good reason. If Madeleine wasn't there long enough to leave DNA, of course there wasn't going to be any DNA. So there's another little thing that makes you wonder. But yeah, he suddenly arrives back on the 23rd with this picture of the picture by the pool. Now, why on earth was that picture not released that first night? The picture that was released that first night was a picture of Maddie taken, oh golly, at Christmas. And I think it was that Christmas. Yeah, I don't think it was earlier than that, but you know, she'd changed. She looked different. Why didn't they use the picture by the pool? It was right there. But no. And my thoughts are that they didn't really want anybody recognizing that. Yeah, I remember that little girl that was wearing that. I saw her Sunday. I haven't seen her since. You know, that kind of thing. I'm sure they didn't want anybody to specifically remember Madeline, because if she'd have gone to the creche on the Sunday, she would have you know, been wearing that outfit and people would remember it. And then if just by chance maybe the nanny would have said, yeah, I remember that girl, she came in Sunday, but I haven't seen her since, you know. So I believe that they made a poster up of an older picture, which also resembled the other children in the group, and we went over that with the last sighting. So the last picture, I do believe, was very likely not photoshopped and everything that everybody claimed. I think quite simply it was taken on another day, and the EXIF data was just sorted out within those days that Jerry went back home and came back with it, you know, because John Corner was from, and also I think Philomena's husband was very, we won't go into him, was very into photography. So, you know, it's very possible that that date could have been changed. Easier, much easier than thinking it was photoshopped. I mean, I just couldn't even look at those photoshops for years and years. Thousands of posts. So that's what, and as I say, Rachel was supposedly there at the time that photo was taken, and yet she didn't see Maddie, and the tennis courts are right next to the pool. So what does that tell you? Anyway, so I hope that kind of covers it. And I mean, I've been going on and on, and this is, I feel kind of sad because I really would have loved to have gone through everything again today and refreshed my memory, because everything I've been saying is just memory from like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But I really would have loved to have refreshed my memory again and got it. But I tell you what I'm going to do. And this again, I'm looking forward to, because the other videos have disappeared. They're no longer available from our first weeks. But by the same token, you know, there's nothing to stop me doing them again. But what I won't do is put you through all those ones again. And maybe I'll put some videos together covering everything I covered in those first 4 videos, hopefully more understandably and in more order with, you know, the videos and graphics necessary, and upload them, and they're there. So hopefully that will cover that. And I promise you that I will. I mean, honestly, when we came on at 3:30, we were still trying to figure it out.
I know. I think we were live when we were talking. So yeah. I mean, I'm probably a little biased, but I think that this live went pretty darn well. Yeah, there's glitches and there's things working out, but this was the first time you've ever done a live. That's a pretty big thing. So.
Yeah, well, and it's not to make excuses, because quite honestly, I think I'm quite happy because we actually had a beginning and an end.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I honestly, I'm working. I'm doing this. I've got one computer. Dave was lovely enough to send me a computer, which I've got here, but of course I haven't finished moving into it, so I couldn't use that. And the one I'm using, kind of just starts doing funny things after a little while. So I was scared that was going to happen. And so I was trying to get different ones backed up, all ready to go in case this one went.
Yeah.
But then it was, and then I couldn't find my lighter, and that was major. So now I have a candle.
Yeah. I
mean,
think it's really good. And the conversations in the chat, and you can go back and read it after we're done, but it's been really good in there too. There's a lot of things going on, talking about in there.
Oh, wow. And you know what? Honestly, I've been so busy trying to make sure everything works that I haven't even looked at chat. And I honestly thought, oh, well, never mind. Hopefully they'll come back next week. I really didn't think there'd be a lot of, and plus we haven't got the usual people because, you know, there was no way to advise a lot of the usual people that come here.
Well, there's a lot of the regulars in there. They found you.
Oh dear, can't get away, can I?
No, you can't. I just want to say this comment from Devil's Advocate said, this must be one of the most transparent cover-ups of all time, and the UK police look stupid.
And I would agree. And I think through all the, you know, my videos show all the facts, but when you stop and listen to Gonzalo Amaral, he's the one who was in charge. He knows more than anybody about it. And when you listen to him and talking about the cover-ups, and the one I was watching this morning, somebody asked him, do you think this will be solved? And he said, yes. He said, I do think it will be solved when the political side of it is sorted out. And that, he didn't use those words because that's all I could remember. But yeah, so he thinks it can be solved because there is a political cover-up. And when he says that, I mean, he obviously knows a lot more than we even do, even though we can guess. He actually says it. And there's another thing. There's a few Gonzalo Amaral videos where all Portuguese, but I was given translation and had to add it phrase by phrase. I had no idea still don't have any idea of Portuguese. And it was such a challenge taking phrase and thinking, where does it go? But I did it. I mean, I could not, honestly, I'm so proud of myself. I could not believe I could take an hour-long translation, because one of the videos was an hour long, and put the placements in the right place, even though I don't speak Portuguese or recognize it's amazing. And I did actually lots of Gonzalo Amaral things. So yeah, I can be proud of myself. And I was told they were in the right place. But those videos, let me tell you, are the ones that are really interesting. They're probably ones which are least watched, although the Gonzalo Amaral's documentary, as I say, that's got 1.5 million views. So do just go to the homepage and look for, I think I've got it on the special video at the top, banned documentary. Absolutely watch that if you can. But his other documentaries, and I think some are on my other channel, that some of the documentaries that have been in Portuguese, which people are less likely to watch, actually have the best information going. When you see a Gonzalo Amaral interview, do try and watch it, because that's where you get the real information. And it's not necessarily from the files, but it's from the chap who gave up. When I do a topic on the police, it will amaze you as to not only what he gave up, what he was called, what he went through. The police were wonderful, and they're just dragged down. And the reason being that Jerry and Kate McCann claimed they were no good right from the start. So then everybody believed it, the same as they believed the abduction. And it's human nature. Once you hear something, you defend it after that, even if you know deep down that maybe it's not right, you'll defend everything against it. So that's why I believe that everybody believes the abduction, because they will, if you tell a story that many times, you tend to believe it. And yeah, so I was saying something, totally forgot what I was saying. I knew I'd do that. But no, just looking back here, I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank the mods for I don't know what you've done. You'll have to say to what I'm just thanking you in general, because I mean, you've given up your time to come and crikey sit and listen to me. But anyway, thank you so much, everybody. It's our first little go with our brand new channel, and hopefully, if I can start doing some more professional content, I'd start getting some views, and we're going to work up. I mean, I've got 15 million views and 15,000 subs, but all of those subs are inactive. Or, I mean, if there are any subs from the old days, please let me know. But I think most of them are inactive, and just like somebody else has inactive subs, you might have them, doesn't mean they support you. So yeah, but now I think once I start doing videos and get the algorithms going, and then I get into they start suggesting me, and that's when it just exponentially kind of goes. So I'm really looking forward to doing that, you know, as opposed to you know, when you start a channel, you have nothing that really, it's hard to get built, but mine's already built. I've just got to get back there. So that's what I'm really excited about doing. Yeah. So I'm going to do my best. And if you've got any suggestions, please tell me, particularly if you've got suggestions on topics, particularly if there's something that you think I should be doing or could be doing, but don't have to worry about telling me what's wrong, because I'll find that out myself. Okay.
So there, Emily in the chat, she says she's been subbed to you for several years. I started watching you again when you posted the vid about these chats on your friend's channel. So she's been a sub of yours for quite a while, apparently. So they're out there.
Oh, Emily, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's smashing. Here's me thinking I've got no, even though I've got 15,000, I've got no active. I've got 14,999 subs that are inactive, and Emily. Thank you. So I think I'm gonna let you go here. I mean, you deserve it, and my candle's burning down, so I've got to replace it. And I really appreciate anything, you know, that just the fact of you've been, you know, taking your time. I mean, this is your Saturday night. So thank you so much. Always let me know if there's anything, and I will try and do it. I can't guarantee. I'm sometimes a bit bad when it comes to messenger and emails, but anything, I will do my best. So I will say good night for now, and thank you, Shirley, and thank you, Claire, for popping up and doing your bit. I'm sorry you disappeared. Oh, was I supposed to add you again? I see you're in backstage.
Yeah, she was backstage. I told you twice, but you were busy. That's okay.
Oh, gee, hang on. I'm sorry about. I've just seen it. Golly, I would. Claire, nice to see you.
I was just sat back here. I'm fine.
Claire's been working like crazy in the chat. Her and him.
I've been doing both.
Yeah, and talking about that, I think you need to tell everybody, and honestly, this is going to be good. Claire and a couple of the others have got together, and they're doing Celtic investigations. So I don't think it's just the investigations from Ireland. I think it's more that they're Irish and they're doing the investigations. But
yeah,
it's
with a
going to be
mixture with Irish and Welsh.
Yeah, Welsh, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, can you just tell us a bit about it?
Well, yeah, basically we decided that we're going to look at cases that are, near to us, some more closer to home, as well as the big cases that are going on, and just go through them, see if we can add anything extra to them. And, if we can't, just give it a good go.
Yeah, and so many people, I think, are interested in stuff. And
yeah,
I know that I suggested Mary Boyle for you, and that was partly because I was actually in touch with Mary Boyle's cousin, and they're really trying. I know up until the last time I spoke to him anyway, they were really trying to push for some petition because everybody knows who did it. And I nearly said it. Everybody knows
I know,
who did it. And he was even interviewed by the police, and they know he did it. But the Irish, I don't know what it's called, there was some issues. I put a video together.
The Gardaí,
yeah. And there
he
was
won't
some
let
issues.
them on their land, will he?
Yeah, he won't let them on. And yet, doing a Google search, that was where they found him. Actually, I think a picture of him and his car. And so they believe, I think, that she was buried in his garage under cement, but they can't get into there to get the cadaver dogs there. But apparently every year around March, I think, when she went missing, they put a petition up, and they're really, really, really trying to get some help. So it would be great if, this poor little girl and her sister, her twin sister, I mean, she's just totally devastated. I mean, every case, right? I mean, I'm suggesting Mary Boyle. You've got equally interesting. Why am I pointing at you? Because you can't see me. But you've got really interesting cases coming up. Which ones?
Well, tomorrow we're going to do our first live, and we're going to follow the Lucy Letby case, the nurse in the hospital in Chester that have just been charged with murdering babies, basically. They're all infants under 1 year old. So we're going to delve into that tomorrow.
Oh, that'll be good.
Yeah, should be interesting. We've been doing, I've done some research, and I know Melissa has been as well. So we're going to give that a run for this money tomorrow, see if we can shed a bit of light on that. And with Melissa and Hannah both being nurses themselves, they've got a good insight into it. So we'll see how it goes.
That's great. And then there was the Trevelyan,
Trevelyan Evans case. Yeah, I know Melissa done that, and she's actually speaking to a witness. I think it's next week. She's speaking to a witness, so that'll be another one that we'll be updating.
Really, yeah, and it's good to have somebody who has a connection that knows everything or knows a good deal.
Yeah.
So as opposed to just picking out a case from nowhere. But I mean, even so, I know that knowing you and Melissa and Helen, is it?
Hannah and Helen,
yeah. I thought so. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm always getting myself in trouble. That you would put your heart and soul into it, and really, I love that. I know that you're going to do a great job. I hope you do better than with the thingies than I have. But I hope I won't put you off.
Well, we'll see how tomorrow goes first. That's going to be a good one.
It's going to be good. I think
sure we'll need to be all hands on deck as well tomorrow for us.
Yeah, that's good.
And Lizzie, just really quick off that topic, you're going to reread this chat, right? Because there's a couple other people that are saying that they've been long-term subs of yours too. So you may want to.
Oh, really?
Check that out. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. I honestly thought everybody had left me, and I have 15,000 people. Well, actually, it's 14,000 and something. Just sitting back, doing nothing, you know. So to know you're still around, I absolutely love that, because I tell you what happened. Right, I started in 2011, and at that point, if you were a sub, you automatically got notifications. So I would put a video out, and automatically there were hundreds of people, hundreds of views, because everybody was getting a notification. Wasn't so good when I put one out that was supposed to be private. And what happened, I didn't know that. Well, what it was I never punish my kids. I say never punish them. I used to sing at them, and that was my form of making them stop, and they did. I mean, to this day, and I promise you, that's what worked. I remember precisely visually singing "Power of Love" to them, and back in the Celine Dion days, and they absolutely hated it so much they never did it again. So what I thought I'd do was, one day I said to my daughter, I'm sending you a song of me singing, so that when you have a child, my grandchild, if I'm not around, you can just play it to them and use it as
if I'm not
punishment.
around.
Yeah. So I upload. I think I was singing "Tell Him," you know, Celine Dion and Barbara Streisand.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I'm going to send her that, and then she can keep it to use as, you know, to keep her children and my grandchildren in check. Well, I uploaded it, and you know, tried to put it on private, but then I looked and I kept getting views and views and views and views, and I thought, what have I done? So all these people were seeing me, and I think I had a picture on there of me. I used to do karaoke a lot, and for a joke, you know, I'd put "Wear Anything," you know, and this one occasion was the cook of this pub was leaving, so they asked me to come along and do a few, you know, life is a cabaret stuff, right? And so I said, okay, I'll do it. And I can't remember if they were mine or if somebody gave them to me. There was these woolly cufflinks or something. Not cufflinks, handcuffs. So here's a picture of me dancing around with these woolly handcuffs. And this was on the video, and I thought, oh my God, everybody's seeing it. And what had happened, and I warn everybody, if you ever have YouTube and you get copyright, beware that on the first thing, it doesn't stop you from doing your regular uploads, but it prevents you from going private. So I'd uploaded it, and even though it's private, it was private, automatically public. So keep that in mind if ever you do that. Well, I couldn't figure out. I mean, I was panicking. I thought, how am I going to delete it? I had no idea how to delete it, and I think I had about 400 views before I managed.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, because I was getting instant notifications back then, right? Everybody, and I finally managed to just delete it. I mean, whoops! And I never delete anything, but boy, I had to. It wasn't bad, but I mean, me singing, excuse me, and here's me trying to run an IDO channel. So
well, I can guarantee you won't have me singing on YouTube. That's for sure. I can guarantee you won't. I can guarantee you won't have a video of me singing on YouTube. That's for sure.
I never what? I'm sorry.
You'll never have a video of me singing on YouTube.
Okay, I'm having trouble here. What I heard is you'll never be missing on YouTube, but I'm not sure that's what
She said you'll never see her singing on YouTube.
Oh, you'll never see you singing on YouTube, Claire?
No, never.
Well, we could have a little duet or something. A Jerry, a triet.
No.
Yeah, I don't think you know. No, there's nothing wrong with anything. Yeah,
So
and that's it. I mean,
do you have an idea what
pardon?
next week's going to be yet, or are you still trying to figure that one out?
I haven't even figured out what this one was about.
I just thought we'd throw that out there before everybody leaves, just in case. But yeah, I'm sure everybody will come back anyways.
What's coming to mind is there any suggestions? I mean, I've been contemplating doing the about the fund. I've been contemplating doing about the outrageous things like Richard Bilton being asked to infiltrate the media and Gonzalo Amaral and the forensics disappearing. I've been contemplating doing about the press, and maybe that's one that I'll do.
Yeah, I think the press would be good.
There's 1,000. I mean, I just can't think of them offhand, but there's honestly 1,000 different topics I can do. I have no problem with the topics as long as it relates directly with Madeline. I'm not one that Carrie. Thank you so much, because Carrie and Cherry and Linda and Helen have all helped me on the Heidi Ho Controversy channel when I've been missing in action, and they know all the details about what's in the articles and this. I've never listened. I've never watched, never read newspaper articles unless I have to. I sometimes will go through comments and kind of read the comments, but no, I am not interested in media articles because they're a load of bull twaddle.
Rubbish, yeah.
But yeah, the others, they've been so great. Honestly, they've looked after me. If it wasn't for them, the reason I call it our channel, the HDH4, this channel, sorry, I'm right where we are now. The reason I call it our channel is because in 2011, I could not have done it and done the videos without my admin team, which was Carrie, Cherry, Helen, and Linda. And actually, there were some others at that time: Isabel, Heather, Michelle. Rest in peace, Michelle. I could never have done it because my videos took all of my time up. And that's why I say it's not my channel, it's our channel. And they've, I mean, Kerry, she comes up with stuff. She did something today, and I'm thinking, how did she know that? Like, she's right there. Oh, I know. Somebody had sent her what they thought was a David Payne statement. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, and that's what started me looking to see about this David Payne issue. Now, that's one that will be on that outrage. I can't think of the name for it, but the outrageous one, because anyway, she suggested, I think it was Melissa, was it? Or was it you, Claire? Suggested this statement was from David Payne.
Melissa, that was earlier.
Yeah. Now, Kerry comes on and says, and I'm going along with it. I'm saying, oh, yeah, probably David Payne, right? Kerry comes on and says, I think that was Jane Tanner. Okay, Kerry. She's spot on. I mean, she's just so great. But that is an issue. And this is one that is, we try to avoid it in the groups. And I never really went for it. But the video that I was looking at this morning was where Gonzalo Amaral is claiming that there was an issue with David Payne because of the friends that claimed there was a possibility of pedophilia being involved. And no, I won't go into any more, but that's what Gonzalo says, not what I say, anybody else says. This is what Gonzalo says, and it's bothersome because everything else is being hidden, and because we choose on a sensitive subject like that, even though it's in the files, the friends have got their statements in the files, and the only reason they got the statements in the files was because they did the statements in May, and Gonzalo Amaral was taken off the case October the 2nd, but in November is when these statements didn't appear normally. They appeared within a bunch of faxes that were sent. Nothing to do with anything, but some cop in Britain had seen these statements and popped them in these faxes. That's the only way the Portuguese police knew about this. And it's called the Gaspar statements. And that in itself is quite shocking. So Gonzalo Amaral addresses that in one of the videos and said, well, I didn't know because I'd left by then. They should have investigated him. Did they? He said, not as far as I know. I mean, is that shocking? Because he was supposedly, David Payne and Jerry McCann were supposedly a year before, when they were away on holiday in Mallorca, discussing with each other using gestations. What's the word, Shirley?
I don't know.
Ejaculations.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, which weren't appropriate, and they were discussing about Maddie in a very, very we don't want to say it, but that's apparently what they were doing. And these statements that the doctors, their friends, had said about this happening was held back in Britain and wasn't sent to Portugal until one cop, well, we presume it was one cop, popped them in between the faxes about other stuff. So that tells you the depth of how much the British are protecting the McCanns. You know, they can't even let the Portuguese police know everything. So all of that stuff, I'd like to do, obviously, a topic on that one day. When it comes to the timelines and all this kind of thing, you know, I've got it all in my head, which is what's kept me going today, because I certainly wasn't able to do any research or anything. And it's sad, really, because I think I know I had lots of graphics and I had it all in my mind. Okay, it was all kind of fresh in my mind at that point, and unfortunately we weren't able to do it, but that doesn't cause a problem, because, as I say, what I'm going to do is do a separate video of going through the videos and the and this is from the previous ones too. You know, all the topics I've done previous, I will be redoing on a video, because ultimately, and this is what upsets me, is that they're not available, is because ultimately I wanted to send them to the Portuguese police, because I know that there's information in there. I'm not out to solve the case, don't get me wrong, that's never been an intention, but some little snippets you just never know that would interest them, and you know, might make them aware, because certain things can't be produced on a computer. It takes a mind like mine to come up with it. I'm sorry, I'm imagining. Never mind. But that's what I'm really hoping to do, and I'm really looking forward to it. I also would love to come on and do maybe a live where just everybody wants to ask questions. I mean, is that a possibility? Is there anybody that might want to come on just to ask questions about the case in general?
I was thinking that too, that you could have one where you just have certain, people that are in the chat. If they want to come up, you could have guests, that come up and talk to you one-on-one or 1-on-3 or whatever. So I think that would be good too.
Yeah, well, I would love that, but would there be guests? I mean,
well, Emily just said she'd be happy to come on.
Oh, Emily! Oh, my long-time subscriber.
Yes.
Oh, that would be smashing. Well,
yeah,
do you use Messenger? Because if you do, would you contact me on my, well, it's my Heidi Ho, Lizzie Heidi Ho Taylor Messenger. But I mean, if you could contact anybody or me or whatever, that would be smashing. I'd love that. I'd love that. As long as you're nice to me. Don't come on here and be nasty to me.
How could anybody be nasty to you, Lizzie?
Well, I think we kind of got an answer to that. Don't even ask that question right now.
Yeah.
But no, that would be smashing. I mean, if you trust me to bring you on instead of leaving you in the background.
Poor Claire, been hanging out back there.
I know.
I was fine. I was fine.
Yeah, but I've got one computer that's good, but is not set and got the stuff on it. I've got another one that absolutely refuses to accept a button being pushed. So that's kind of frozen. And so this was the one that is my computer that just absolutely goes crazy on me sometimes. I get lights and everything and pages move and everything. And look at it. It's worked right the way through.
Yep.
But
it was
my new computer that one of my friends on our channel sent me, Dave. Thank you, Dave.
Super Dave. I call him Super Dave now.
Yeah, Super Dave, definitely. To the rescue.
Yeah. He could see I was in trouble. I mean, I'm always in trouble. But nothing ever works. And I mean, I set them up. I thought, okay, I'm going to get it right. And this was starting this morning. This was starting. I have an old computer my brother gave me, which I usually do the lives with. So I was setting it up. I had it all set up last night. Woke up this morning. My Google account is some account I had 15 years ago. So it would not let me sign into my current account. It refused. So I put restore on it and put it back again. Got the, it looked like it was going to be me. But I couldn't get Chrome up. And then finally I thought, okay, here you are, you've got your computer, you want to sign up, you just click on the Chrome page, but nothing happened. So I thought, okay, I'll download Chrome, because Chrome is the only thing you can do Streamcast in. And I downloaded it, pops up, and I think, oh, lovely. I've got, I'm set to go. Oh, off it went, and just disappeared. So that computer is right now sitting on top of the printer over there. And so I have this other computer, which is like 99,000 years old, but it's working. I mean, this is not, this is not a complaint. We've got through here. And that is refusing, it's freezing and not letting me click on anything. Then I've got Dave's on the side here, but I haven't finished moving in. So it hasn't got all the stuff I need in there yet. And then this one, just when it feels like it just goes, like all the lights start going on every name and can't type. And I thought, but we got through. And then I've got 3 mouses. So I didn't know which mouse I was using for what. And I've got 2 headphones. Oh, it's just
it worked out really good. It worked out really good, especially for your
and we did it. And
yep.
Yeah, and you're right. That's
it's
all.
only going to get better.
Yeah, that we get from start to finish, and anything else is a bonus.
Yep. Yep.
So, okay, I'd better let you go because I'm sure everybody wants to have a sit down and a little comfy cozy and get onto Netflix or whatever. But thank you so much. I've already said this, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everybody. Thank you for Shirley. Thank you to Claire. Thank you to who else is in there? Is Helen and Melissa and Carrie. And also Cherry, because I think she bumps all the appropriate threads. She's like, I have little visuals of her with her little finger on the thing, clicking and bumping all the threads in our Heidi Ho group, and Carrie
And
with her.
Suzanne and Tracy were in there too. They just haven't been made mods yet. So, but they were in there too. It was the same mod.
Who was that? Tracy
and Suzanne and Helen
and Suzanne. Oh, you haven't been made mods yet. Do you want me to?
Yeah, so we in a chat, I told them we'll just figure it out after the live. You were just trying to hurry up because we had a few, unruly people.
Yeah, and Hannah. Who can forget Hannah?
And Hannah's always there.
I know. And you know what? I felt so bad one day because I was saying, oh, this was good and thank you, this. And I totally didn't include Hannah because I hadn't really heard her much because I fell asleep during the live that we were talking, nodded off, let's say. And I felt so bad. So Hannah, especially for you, thank you so much. But honestly, thanks to Tracy, thanks to Suzanne, and everybody else. I mean, I'm really lucky. I've got some wonderful people around me. And let me tell you, that makes my daughter, me happy, but it makes my daughter really happy because she thinks, here I am, sat here on my own, kind of doing nothing. And meanwhile, I'm having a blast.
Yeah.
And with such great people around me. You're all such good people. And thank you to everybody, and especially Chris and Kim, who blame them. If you don't like me around, just blame them because it was because of them that I'm here. And if anything goes wrong, I'll just blame Chris and Kim.
There you go.
It's their fault. So anyway, got to go, I think. And thank you again. And I'm going to do my best. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to think about, consider. And good luck tomorrow, all of you, for your Celtic investigations. And I know that's going to go really well because you've already got loads of subs already. So please go over and click on the Celtic Investigations channel to hear about tomorrow. And the what case was it, Samara?
Lucy Letby.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. That's the current one.
The nurse.
Yeah. Do you remember that one back in the 70s that no,
Beverly
that wasn't
Alec.
done. Pardon?
Beverly Alec. She was a nurse that killed people as well.
Okay. Am I having an accent problem here?
Yeah, you are.
She
has an accent.
I do. Sorry.
Well, I went to
guys.
I did go to a couple of times, but I didn't really catch on with the accent. But it's lovely. So I'm sorry if I missed it. I can't remember the names. And yeah, there was one in 75. I remember, in Toronto actually. It was Toronto Sick Children's Hospital, and she was killing a lot of children. But anyway, that's another one. So thanks all, and sorry to extend it. Thanks so much, and look forward. I don't know if you're going to come back, but if you don't, have a nice life because you'll be away from me. So goodbye.
Bye.
And thanks a lot to everybody. Bye-bye. Can I find my mouse? No. Okay, I think I've got it. Maybe.